So there's a few things in here uh, that might give you a little bit of trouble, and it's worth me maybe off to the side, uh, just writing down something you're probably familiar with, which is PEMDAS, and it's a good acronym to help you keep track of how to do things, but it doesn't tell you, uh, it doesn't give you precise instructions. So whenever you look at PEMDAS, you might want to, put a box around the M and the D and the A and the S, because it's important for you to know that you treat multiplication and division going from left to right. So if you first come across a multiplication, then you do that first. But if you first come across a division, you do that first. And it's typically from left to right, except that this tells you the P, and again, the instructions aren't in the acronym. You have to start from the innermost parentheses. Now, the trouble on this one is you do have one set of parentheses, so that might be obvious that that's where you start. But that absolute value is functioning. It has two functions. It functions as parentheses or as a grouping symbol. We often, instead of the G, we might I'm sorry, instead of a P, we might say G because it's a grouping symbol. It functions as a grouping symbol, but it also functions as an operation. It's telling you to do something, right? So you start, the directions aren't in here, but you start with the innermost parentheses. So then that's why we do 10 minus 3, 9 minus 3, and then you simplify that. 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, so now you only have one set of grouping symbols, which is the absolute value. So now there's no exponents. So you go to the M and the D, and you have to start inside the parentheses first, because there's an implied multiplication. Maybe I'll do it in green right here. There's an implied multiplication there, and there's also an implied multiplication here because of the parentheses. So you start with the innermost, which might be confusing because I just told you to start from left to right on the multiplication division, but you have to start inside the parentheses, left to right. So the only multiplication inside the parentheses going from left to right is this one here. So so it's 9 minus 6. Okay. Then you go to addition subtraction inside the parentheses. So there's only one here, right? So 10 minus 3, absolute value of 9 minus 6. 9 minus 6 is 3. Then, and this one's not in the PEMDAS, which is do the absolute value. And there's something for exponents, there's other operations, but PEMDAS doesn't tell you about absolute value. But once you get a number by itself inside the absolute value, then you take care of that. And we're going to turn it into a multiplication. So this is going to be 3 because 3 is 3 units from 0. Then you do multiplication from left to right. So it's 10 minus 9. And then the addition subtraction, in this case subtraction, which is 1. So there's a lot of kind of hidden steps inside the PEMDAS, but the PEMDAS does provide a little bit of guidance for this type of problem.